Dan Patrick Show. Get to your phone calls as we always do. I'm a little late in this. I apologize. We got sidetracked here. We'll get to your best and worst of the weekend, and we'll do so coming up after Peter King from Sports Illustrated. Pete, let's start with the breaking news. Tim Tebow released. How active were they in trying to trade Tebow during the draft?
Well, I think that's the reason why it happened today, Dan. They wanted to try to get something, anything for him. They couldn't do it. Tebow absolutely didn't want to, at least as of now, play any other position than quarterback, and that's what ruined their chances to get something for him.
I'm looking at Pro Football Talk with our good friend Mike Florio. He said there's some places where he could go, and
I agree.
Chicago, I think with Mark Trestman would be really interesting. It's a big market for Tebow. I don't know what factors in right now for Tebow.
I think he ought to go to Green Bay or San Francisco. Those are the two places. One of those two. If I were him, he doesn't want to be a sideshow. He wants to be a quarterback. So go and have 2 quiet years in Green Bay, where you can be either number 2 or number 3. Don't worry about playing. Worry about refining your game. If you want to be an NFL quarterback, go and study under a great quarterback coach in Mike McCarthy with a great coaching staff, with a really good number 1 quarterback. And I don't even know if the Packers want him. I haven't asked that question in 10 months or whatever since he ended up going. But this, in my opinion, this is a debacle that happened because with the Jets, the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. Tannenbaum and Ryan wanted him. He practiced poorly last summer and wasn't what they thought he was. Which obviously is not an accurate quarterback. And I think that Tony Sparano, who had all the power on the offense last year, was just basically afraid to play him.
Okay, so he's gone. Now Sanchez is there waiting for the emergence of Geno Smith. And if you're drafting somebody in the second round, are you drafting Geno Smith to start?
I don't think so. I mean, they're drafting him to develop him to be their quarterback of the future, barring an incredible turnaround by Mark Sanchez, which I can't see happening. He doesn't perform well when either the weapons around him stink, which was the case last year, or there's a lot of pressure on him, which is going to be the case again this year. I don't know what has changed.
I know.
They didn't get Tavon Austin. They didn't get anybody to really tangibly affect how good they're going to be on offense. They're going to be a disastrous team. The Jets should bite the bullet now, make them a post-June 1 cut, take $12 million of the cap hit this year, $5 million next year, and move on with their lives. My biggest pet peeve in the last few months about the Jets is the single following quote. Quote, "They can't cut Mark Sanchez," end quote. Why? Tell me why. The Oakland Raiders this year are playing with $76 million of cap money. The Jets, if they cut Mark Sanchez with a post-June 1 designation, would be playing with about $91 million. Is it optimal? No. The Redskins won the division last year. They're playing with a cap number of about $99 million this year. You can win in the NFL and have a low cap number. I'm not saying you will win, but I'm saying you can. What would you rather have? Would you rather have a debacle of a team and have Sanchez, on the roster, maybe playing, maybe not, but every other day be on the back page for something? You want to have that and have $103 million on your cap? Or do you want to get rid of that, excise it, lance the boil, and play with $91 million? I know what I'd rather do.
Talking to Peter King from Sports Illustrated, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. I love what you mentioned in your Monday morning quarterback of Tavon Austin. I love the kid, and from what I'm told, the Jets were there, knew they were going to get him, and then the Rams caught wind of it and then went all in for Tavon Austin. But mention the stat you had about Tavon Austin, because I really think it speaks to the quality of the kid and, the toughness of him.
I mean, I was amazed. I met him. I was out in St. Louis, and I met him on Friday, and I said to him, I heard that you never missed a game or practice at West Virginia. He goes, no, that isn't true. I missed one practice. I missed a practice after I broke a finger against Nicholls State, or Norfolk State, I'm sorry, and his junior year, and he had to have surgery on Sunday to repair and put a pin in his pinky. And he was back out at practice the next practice. So I got Andy Staples of Sports Illustrated on the phone, and we figured out how many practices in a college season there were and how many practices overall there would have been in his career. And it's approximate. We don't know exactly how many, but there was approximately 405 practices in his college career. And so he practiced 404 times. Now, this is a guy who would be smaller than any of the Danettes. He would be. He's a tiny guy. He's a Smurfy guy. He's Percy Harvin. And consider that he played in every one of their football games at West Virginia in his time there, 52. And consider that he played in 404 out of 405 practices. So 457 football events in his career at West Virginia. He participated in 456.
Maybe it's a new nickname. There's Percy Harvin, and then there's Smurfy Harvin, so he can be Tavon Austin. Peter King from Sports Illustrated joining us. Tyrann Mathieu, Florio said on Friday he thought that the best place, maybe the only place, was going to be Arizona, where Patrick Peterson could mentor him. What do you think of Mathieu, Honey Badger, going to Arizona?
Until I got back from St. Louis and got on the phone and started calling around and found out a couple of things from league people about the contract that they were going to do. I mean, first of all, he's going to be eligible to be drug tested every week in the NFL with the Arizona Cardinals, and they're not going to put any guaranteed money in his contract. So, last year, and I had the number in the column this morning, last year the 69th player in the draft had about, I forget, $662,000 of guaranteed money in the contract, bonus money. Well, Matthew's going to have none. He's going to have to be active and get his money through roster bonuses and all that. So, I feel a little bit better about it right now. But, it's going to all come down to, this is a guy who was a corner in college. And they're going to ask him to play free safety in the NFL. And so he'll be making a position change. He's a shorter guy. We'll see if it works. It's a pretty big investment for a guy who's been an absolute disaster the last 2 years of his life. But, we'll see if it works out.
Matt Barkley to the Eagles, I understand it. I think because people got caught up in what Chip wants to do college-wise with this offense, that's not going to be the same what he does in Philadelphia. So it's more of just let's run as many plays as possible.
Right.
And I understand. I mean, Barkley taking care of the football makes more sense than Michael Vick in that style of offense. I don't know if Nick Foles is your starter, week one.
Let me ask you this, Dan, and this is what I've been talking to people about, and I talked to Barkley this weekend about a lot of this, but remember that night we were at dinner when it appeared that Kelly was going to be a good candidate to coach the Cleveland Browns. It was a Friday night. I think it was wild card weekend. And we got into this long discussion with Tony at dinner. And one of the things he said is that, which I've totally bought, he said, they don't have to be an offense that has a running quarterback. There's a very good chance that they're going to be like the K-gun offense that Jim Kelly used to run at Buffalo. So, and Jim Kelly is a plodding guy. He's probably slower than Nick Foles and Matt Barkley both. But, Tony's point was that what this guy wants to do is have a very smart quarterback who can run a lot of plays and be your computer programmer right at the line of scrimmage. And I think now he's got three guys. Now, Vic can obviously run around, which is a bonus, but both Foles and Barkley, and I'm assuming that those will be their three quarterbacks on the team. Two of the three guys are pocket guys. So everybody's saying, what is Chip Kelly doing? Chip Kelly has always had the same intention. He can play offense in a lot of different ways, and I think he's going to show that in Philadelphia.
Well, your guys who speed up the offense are your skill players. You still have great wide receivers and you got a lot of running backs there. Your quarterback doesn't have to be the speed guy. He speeds up the offense by the number of plays. They want to be up there with the Patriots. I think he's trying to create a Patriot-style offense with maybe a little bit more to the running game than New England has.
What I think you're going to see this year in the NFL is you're going to see more and more people, and this just in, copying Bill Belichick. Because Doug Marrone, I believe, is going to do the exact same thing in Buffalo if he can get a quarterback he can trust to run that offense. What did Doug Marrone do last year at Syracuse? How did he have by far his best year out of his 4 at Syracuse? He basically took the Oregon, the Missouri, and I think the Toledo offenses, and he took all the stuff from there about how fast they ran their offense, and they basically ran however many, 200 more plays than they ran the year before. And now he comes to Buffalo, and he says, wow, you can really get a huge advantage on the defense by being fast. Kelly will do that. I think Buffalo does that. Obviously, New England does that. I could see Seattle doing more and more of that. Pete Carroll loves that stuff. I think you could have multiple teams in the NFL running 1,100 plays this year, and normally you're at, 950 to 1,000.
Pete, good to visit with you. Enjoyed the Monday Morning Quarterback. Thanks for joining us again.
Hey, thank you, Dan. Take care.
All right, Peter King from Sports Illustrated.